Hello, Strat.
Hello.
Thank you for coming to the first episode of Calradian Podcast. Okay, so let's get into it. Give me your backstory on how did you start playing the game.
So, my backstory was me and my friends decided, you know what? We're just going to try this online mod. And we had a theme. We had a theme
Hmm.
to be Sturgian.
Okay,
That was it. And the
so
rest of them
yeah.
failed.
Uh, so did you join Sturgia
So,
at the start of your?
oddly enough, yes, because all my friends had bailed at that point, and I was too stubborn to give up the Sturgia theme. So, I joined House Halbjorn.
Mm-hmm. But I've heard that you're a Vlandian. Is that
Yes,
true?
I was a former Vlandian, very much back in their heyday, when the Kingdom of Vlandia was still young and actually quite powerful on the server and could stand on their own 2 feet.
Mm. But so I've heard also that you've tried to invite some Sturgians to join Vlandia. Yeah.
Well, yes, that was one of my assignments when Octavius was still a king. I did a horrendous job.
So what happened?
Well, I was talking to Grumbling and Jory, and I was watching these two players, these two Sturgeons who refused to give up on the dream, thrive in an environment that didn't suit them.
Mm.
There were literally two people, two people. I was a part of a kingdom where we
Yeah.
had around about hundreds of players. We had an officer corps and everything. And Octavius said, I want those two guys because they could replace half my officer corps, if not all of it.
And that didn't end well since you joined you
Well,
joined Sturgia, yeah.
I had my reasons. The Vlandians will say I was kicked out, but I
They
left
say you were
clemency.
kicked out.
Yes, they
Mm.
say that I was kicked out.
That's
And
interesting.
to be fair, the kingdom at that point, it really was a shit show. And
Oh,
I don't
really?
use that word lightly. Yeah, so are you familiar with the UCC?
I know it's an alliance.
It
Back
was
in
an
the day.
alliance.
Yeah.
Back when. Sorry, I need to look out the window for this one. Back when the server was still young and Wildlands had still came out. The UCC was founded after the whole Russian Vlandian warfare, and it's quite funny because the clan update rolled in, and can you guess what the Kingdom of Vlandia did?
No? What did they do?
They decided to do, quote, a diplomatic reset.
A diplomatic reset. So what happened
So,
with diplomatic reset?
so they decided, we shall peace out all of our enemies. We shall
Okay.
break all alliances and all deals. And
So
we shall
essentially
stand in
becoming
this new
neutral.
update. Yes, pretty much.
Mm.
It ended badly. Really badly.
Did everything crumble since that point, like?
It was slow. It was a slow crumble, you know, because at this point my favor with the kingdom had already fallen ludicrously low. I was forbidden from leading war bands, so on and so on. I had arguments with certain Vlandian officers over recruit rushing, as Octavius told me that was not okay. And then the next week he was telling me off because it was okay. And nobody ever told me that it was.
He just told you not to do anything, like.
Pretty much. I was still welcomed in the kingdom because, well,
But what was your
I
ranking
have
at
my
that
use.
point? Like, where were you in that clan? Like, what was your
I was
position?
a sir.
Hmm.
So not like the marshal, but certainly a candidate for one if there was ever need.
Okay. So I have a question. Listen, why are people hating on you? Like, explain. You're one
Ah,
of the hated people on the server. Zorti, I would say Zorti is the first one, but I know people hate you as well.
Shorty's still first.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is hard to beat Shorty's position. I have tried everything, everything to usurp that position off him. I started a newspaper, I started a chronicle, I started Vlandian propaganda, everything, and it's still not enough.
Mm. So yeah, he seems to be like a higher level of that.
I just don't know how he does it. Like,
So
I still get hate, but it's never the same level of hate that people have for Shorty.
who mostly hates you? Like in what clan?
Vlandians.
Vlandians mostly, yeah.
Yeah, Vlandians and Imperials.
Are you putting in your paper the drama about them, or why are they
Honestly, it's
hating you
not
now?
even worthwhile. I actually don't know. Like, at first, the Vlandians, I'd left Vlandia, but I was still helping them out with Radio Calradia, which, at that point was essentially me going around as a clan list reporting enemy positions on global, which kind of led to a funny situation where a Vlandian officer tried to start a campaign to get me banned for doing that.
So you were their scout, and they wanted to ban you. Maybe they
I
had their
mean,
reasons for
look,
it.
oh no, to quote the officer, and mind you, this comment is no longer available since Storm has redone Ideas and Wishes. That was the channel where it was posted, by the way. He said, quote, I fucking hate Radio Calradia. I cannot get ambushed anymore. He has removed all enjoyment from the game for me. Ban this fucker, please.
He said "fucker." Yeah. So he was really mad. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know why he was mad because I was helping him to avoid ambushes where he would obviously lose.
And you have a paper, yes? So what is the paper about? Are you biased towards other clans? Are you not biased?
I like to try and keep the paper neutral, but I understand that statement is completely and utterly worthless.
But you still get hate. Like if you, even if you write something good, would they hate you still?
Yes.
Something good, they will hate. If you write something bad, they will hate you even more. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's be honest here, they still read it.
Oh, so you still get views on it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Do you
You
get
know, my biggest
like backlash from like releasing a new paper or something? Do people like directly message you and be like you're saying nonsense? This is not true, and that stuff.
Oh yes, it does depend on what I publish. Sometimes, for instance, Crazy was really happy when I published that whole Chinese article for them, or the Ren Huang as we call them.
Yeah.
Even though that Crazy's deals weren't with the Ren Huang, they were with Eco, but they never mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
you,
of course, there was the whole Arnor exposure, where Arnor was actively getting tribute from Vlandia and the Northern Empire, despite previously saying that they were all equals and they were bros.
but yeah, the more angry they get, maybe you get more like recognition.
Well, yes, that's the idea. I mean, I shouldn't be telling you this, but this is a Calradi- Calradian Podcast special here. That's the secret of my success.
Mm,
I get them angry,
you get them
and they
angry.
send it to everyone else. Because I do have photos of them, various officers, mind you, going to other people in their DMs and going like, dude, look what he's writing about us. Get angry. Spread the word that he's writing this about us. Take my copy of the paper.
Is there a person that sticks out who hates you? Like you have a special place for him, and he really has a special place for you.
Hmm. There's been a lot of people, to be fair.
Mostly Vlandians, yeah.
Thing is, I would find like a Vlandian if they could actually do something. They just don't. They're just angry. They just sit in whatever safe zone they're currently in and just be angry. They wait till somebody else comes to bail them out. That's why you only ever see them in five mans. Rarely do you see one Vlandian traveling by themselves.
So you're saying they're scared to fight like individually. They just need to be in a 5-man to get a fight.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's how they enjoy the game. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
But
it's their
at the
playstyle.
same, well, yeah. I mean, everyone's on about 5v5s nowadays. But it is rather funny to think about this. How the Kingdom of Vlandia, this once proud kingdom that was at the center of the UCC fighting against the Southern Alliance, at about a year or two after, what do we see it? We see it paying all those nasty other clans, relying on the swarm.
What do you think
It's
about Vlandian's alliance with Ren Huang? Even though Ren Huang mostly doesn't speak any English, what do you think about it?
good for them. I mean, let's be honest, it's not an alliance that between Vlandia and Ren Huang. It's just a leftover from the Arnor days. Because Arnor was allied with the Ren Huang and the Vlandians. They've just kept it since.
Yeah, so they
Like,
just came like when Arnor got banned and they like took their place essentially. I mean, tried to took their place.
well, neither clan can really take the place of Arnor, you know? Arnor had that special sort of mix, if you will. It broke apart the Southern Alliance, which was this big conglomerate of powerful PvP clans. It broke it. It literally broke that alliance, which the UCC could not. And it then just went to Vlandia, it went to the Northern Empire and went like, hey, you guys need help. We hate the same enemies. Come work with us. And then we see Arnor then forces these clans to pay taxes.
Arnor essentially had like they were like the mm, how can I say it? Like they were mercenaries like for the other clans. So they were getting like paid to defend them and stuff like and to pass through like Frostlands it was, yeah.
I wouldn't say they were mercenaries. They're certainly overlords in this situation.
Overlords.
Because, well, the alliance that the title I gave the Arnorians was the Arnorian Alliance. The Vlandians, the Ren Huang, and the Northern Empire were all beneath Arnor. Because, let's be honest here,
They
what
couldn't
would we be
compete.
more scared of? Yeah, they
Mm,
couldn't compete with Arnor.
Arnor was crazy.
Like, I'm not
Like
glorifying.
they had some good PvPers. Like
Yes, and I mean, admittedly, they had Olga. They had like Olga himself is like solid. You just can't like. I tried to beat him so many times in lances. I can't beat him with a lance.
he's an
Best
OG
chance I
player,
have is
yeah.
with jabs. He is an OG player. Sturgeon. He's a Sturgeon as well. Arnor had once talked about this glorious idea of content,
Yeah.
and then they were caught cheating.
But it
Like
wasn't
we
the whole
know how.
Arnor, like it was a couple of players.
Oh no no no! It was a good chunk of Arnor. That's the thing. Yes, Arnor was good. They had skilled PvPers, but it was kind of strange seeing them walk out with full noble armies all the time, ignoring the costs. It was strange seeing them hit you where on your screen it did not. That might be the desync, or that might just be them hit using file hacks. We won't know. It casts a lot of doubt into that once proud legacy.
Yeah, I mean they're banned now, most of them. So we are not even gonna know. Do you think some innocent players got banned as well?
Probably. It's not my place to judge. It
I mean
wasn't.
it was a huge ban wave.
It was, but well, no, innocent players were banned. I forget. Yeah, it. I felt the devs could have done a better job with that, but I don't know what resources they're working with. So, criteria for that ban wave was if anyone is 200 crossbow. And naming issue in the tournament is, I'm afraid, completely legal by Storm standards.
That is legal.
Yes. Teaming in the tournament is legal. Storm has been trying to find a way to mechanically fix it. However, this has not stopped clans from constantly teaming in there to get skill books to level. And this means that they can level any stat they want. Now, clans who have been doing this for years, like literal years, have accumulated so many skill books that They can literally make another account and have all free characters at 200 if they so wish. Mind you, that would devastate their stockpile, but they could do that.
Yeah, I don't think that you can actually like do anything about it. Like it's the players. It's not like how can you not fighting each other in the tournament. So
Honestly,
I wouldn't know how
just
can you find a
change the
fix.
reward.
Yeah, I mean a skill book is going for around for like 200 900k right now, maybe even more.
Yeah, I
So
haven't done
you
my
think you
price
should
checks.
you yeah it's around that. So you think you should they should lower like the price like reward. You should get something well like way cheaper or something like that, like 100k
I
let's
think
say.
something less powerful.
Mm.
I think something just like 500 influence added to your clan that day. That's
Y-
not an insignificant amount.
Yeah, I saw like that people had like 20,000 wins.
Well, they genuinely stick together, you know? Like, people who worked in previous alliances, like, the internet's a strange place. EVE Online is particularly good at this. Because you see people scamming, cheating, constantly being friends all the time there. And in Bannerlord, it's still that very weird culture of we once worked together, so in the future, let's work together again. Which ironically brought around the downfall of the UCC, because the Runaway Scorpions and DP and Banu Julian declared war on FMC and the TPA, who were their allies. The reason for this war was, quote, we need content because we already killed Vlandia, end quote. This forced the TPA and FMC to run to Vlandia, which essentially founded the UCC because everyone shortly joined afterwards. Now, the map during that point was divided in two. The Southern Alliance had the Wildlands, and the UCC had the Frostlands. Now, guess in such a situation what happened when the TPA suddenly discovered that they were the link between both sides. Yes, because various people soon found that their claim of, quote, we defend Danustica, they were actually just at, like, Hessen Faluk is that place? Yeah, Hessen Faluk. They were just at Hessen Faluk giving 5v5 fights to the enemy. Like, literally having pre-organized 5v5 fights, and then just walking away afterwards, claiming like, hey, we did our job, we defeated the enemy. And you can actually go and see a Twitch live stream from one of the Runaway Scorpion officers. And in this, he walks past various TPA members, and the TPA don't even respond. They just walk past him, they don't report him or anything. And that's just the evidence that we have. We don't know what else the TPA did.
So why are Sturgians like okay? You have all of those alliances; they are all gone now. Why is the Sturgian Alliance the only one that is like all the way through? Like they never like crumbled at any point.
Because we have an identity. We keep to that identity.
So you're saying that
We are
most of the
Sturgian.
those guys are spineless, essentially.
Not spineless. Let's look at Vlandia, for instance, because you could argue that they're the closest thing to the Sturgian Alliance, right?
Okay.
So both of them, so we compare both. The Sturgian Alliance, Kingdom of Vlandia. You can instantly point to those locations on the map, right?
Yeah.
Well, to put it simply, Sturgians are feared. Sturgians, like, are kind of mad. So the Vlandians, right? They used to have this scorebook of all the economic damage they would do to the enemy in that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Sturgians, when like the first big war happened after they left the UCC, they just went like, okay, you can walk around in your 5 mans. We're gonna kill all the other players that you guys are leaving behind. And the Vlandians, if if we go back to that first big war after their diplomatic reset, they essentially instituted a policy where, quote, you have to abandon anyone that isn't in approved fight by the marshal.
Can you call them even Vlandians anymore? Are they Vlandian? They are not living in Vlandia.
They still claim to be.
but they live in
Like,
Baltakan. That's a Kuzite territory, and like they got. Tell me about how they got driven out of Vlandia.
well, yes, I can tell you how. They were raided by Shorty. Because even though the Sturgians started out as 2 players, they wouldn't stop. The odds didn't matter. They adapted and improvised. Meanwhile, a Vlandian, they say that they're Vlandian. You know? They say, oh, yes, we are kingdom. Look at our 5 mans, undefeated. Yet, when push comes to shove and you join that kingdom, you get treated like shit. Like, you start off in the bottom clan, you have to climb the ranks and prove yourself. And yet, all that time, they would be like, okay, you got caught out there, so, you're just gonna die. Like, we're not even gonna bother to come save you. I've heard other nasty rumors, but let's ignore them for now.
Oh,
Meanwhile, in Sturgia, when a new player joins, you're considered an equal. Like, you're Sturgian.
yeah.
Like, to put it simply, you have to go through a lot of effort to play as Sturgia because we have crap archers, we have crap cavalry, and our infantry is at best decent. We live in snow, so we permanently have debuffs, and we have far more force in the on lands than Botania. So you're getting 2 debuffs. You're going to a territory that's arguably no players around, and you want to be treated like shit in Vlandia, or do you want to live free and independent in Sturgia? Because that's how Sturgians work. You start at the same rank as anyone else. You just have to prove yourself worthy of the title.
And how
Because
do you
Vlandians say
climb ranks in Vlandia? Do you know? Like, how can you be
it's
recognized as a good player there?
so you do stuff for the clan. You do that with any other clan. Sturgia is similar, but the Vlandians, from what I've gathered right now, they're a lot more weird. I know for a fact that they have like clans that are designated tiers, so you start off in a recruit clan, and then you work your way up. Now, when I was a part of the Kingdom of Vlandia, I was a member of Hullcaster, which is a very old clan. And back then, you could pick any vassal clan to join immediately.
It was like the head Vlandian clan. And how do
The
you
head
get in the
Vlandia,
head Vlandian clan?
back in my day, it was Gallandine. And to get into Gallandine, like all you'd need to do is just join the clan. Nowadays, it's NK. And NK is their end tier clan, where you have to work your way up through all these ranks to get to. And to be honest, NK does have quite a few benefits because if you get to like, I don't know, 200 riding, you get certain stats, you do certain things, you get paid.
By
I mean,
who?
in-game money, but you get paid by Toterton, the leader of NK.
So he gives you like a bonus that you did your 200 riding and some of your skills.
Yeah, as soon as you get to NK.
I
If you don't
mean,
spend
clans
time,
have their way of doing stuff. I their own diplomacy between the clan.
Vlandia has quite a few more issues than Sturgia did.
In what sense?
When I was in Hullcaster, we couldn't get many recruits.
Okay.
And this was because everyone in Vlandia knew that if you joined NK, you would get paid for stuff.
Yeah.
So this resulted in the 2 leaders of the clan I was part of at that time to start a scheme to nick players from NK into their own clan forcefully.
Hmm. Okay.
Obviously, I told the leader of NK, Tilterton, about this.
What was his response to that?
He just paid his recruits more.
No, okay, so he didn't like try to stop them or anything. He was just like, "I will give you more money."
Well, yeah, that's what he did, and then the king of Vlandia got involved and told the leader of Hullcaster, don't do that.
And
And
who
obviously,
is the king of Vlandia? Like,
currently it is that's what she said.
and who is that? Who is the like?
Honestly, he's an old officer from like NK. Or to be honest with you, Vlandia is more like they once argued that democracies such as Sturgia, because Sturgia has no king. Sturgia is just a series of clans that cooperate and work together, or clans. And in Vlandia, they say our monarchy is great because our king can instantly make decisions and decide for himself.
So they only go ask the king what to do. They're not like cooperating like between each other. Ask the officers, ask everyone, is everyone okay with it? So they just have one guy for it.
Pretty much.
Do you think the
But,
Vlandians will return to Vlandia?
well, once Frostlands is gone, or the Ren Huang get tired of them, yes, or they get kicked out of Frostlands, which is looking more and more of a possibility.
Why is that?
Just pressure.
Pressure from
We're
the other
seeing that.
alliances?
Yes, I'm yet to give the new alliance the new alliance against the old Arnor alliance a name because I sent them a message. I sent one of their leaders a message, and they still haven't replied. So I'm going to probably give them a temporary name, which we shall call them the Southern Alliance Mark II, because they are led by the previous leader or by the leader who founded the first Southern Alliance,
And who is he?
Ramon.
Ramon. Why do you say Ramon in that voice?
He's banned, but he's technically allowed to play
Technically, but he's playing still. How can that be?
because Storm is yet to confirm that is this the same Ramon that he banned previously.
He called himself Ramon again. If he got banned once, okay, he called himself Ramon again. Do you think that's not the same person?
You see, that's like it was in Cyrillic. It was somebody else that pointed that out to me, surely.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it might be somebody with the exact same name. And then you see him in the same clan, and you're like, well, maybe he's a new recruit. And then you see he's a clan leader, and you're like, well, that's just all coincidental. And then you see he's typing the same way. Then you see he talks the same way. And then you see he has that deep hatred of Vlandians that I have. And then you're like, yep, that's Ramon.
Okay, so if the Russian alliance hates Vlandia and Sturgians hates Vlandia, why are they not cooperating with each other?
Because Ramon also hate the Ramonist Alliance is probably the best term for this. The Ramonists are also hate Sturgia because they are Sturgian.
They hate Sturgia because they are Sturgian.
Because Sturgians are Sturgian. Like
Uh,
the
yeah, that
terror
makes
and
sense.
panic that people feel when they see one Sturgian walking around the map. Imagine being on the receiving end of just knowing that that guy is going to attack you. Win or lose, you will lose troops. You will you will have to waste time dealing with him, and he will just keep coming back regardless of the result. That is why they hate Sturgians. And to be fair, it's actually interesting because Ramon has actually offered us, cooperation in that in the past. He even invited us to join his alliance a few times. We rejected it.
For what reason?
Kind of funny. Well, do we want to work with Ramon?
I don't know. For me, it seems like an opportunity to fight against Vlandians, which.
Yes, but you also have to consider that both sides will just be working to an end. So as soon as Ren Huang and the Vlandians get kicked out of Frostlands, immediately both sides are going to turn on each other. And Sturgians aren't interested in the Frostlands. Like, we owned it for a while, and it was a pain in the ass to run. Like, you get various disputes between the clans. He's claimed my boss, I claimed his boss. Nah, he took
So
a
all over
screenshot 5 minutes
chaos.
ago.
Oh,
Yeah, and working with Ramon is not easy because how do I put this? He needs to have leverage over you. That's how he ran the Southern Alliance. The Southern Alliance, he was the richest person. Like he was like Tilterton on steroids in terms of wealth. He would
and
pay
how much are we
people so
talking
on.
like wealth? What do you think it's
100 millions.
wealth? So
He's
essentially, he could
rich.
buy anything he wants. Like he can buy people as
Oh
well.
yes. Oh yes, he's bought people.
He did.
Well, yeah. You buy companions, you can even buy clans if you pay them enough. It just depends on the people in the clan. And that's kind of what annoys them about Sturgia. Because Sturgians, right, you can't buy them off, you can't give them items, and you can't intimidate them. They're just this lump sitting there. And you want to take Frostlands, but you
You need
see
help.
over on your left, just that blue flag just waving in the distance, like, goddamn Sturgians.
And Sturgia would be like a good, let's say, a good ally for taking over. Do you think that Sturgian Alliance potentially with the Russians would benefit the Russians a lot? Like, do you think
Definitely.
it's a game changer for them?
To put it simply, the Sturgian Alliance is geographically far closer to the Frostlands than they are.
Yeah, that's true.
The Sturgians are also incredibly adept at doing lightning fast hit and run attacks to such an extent that any other alliance that has fought against the Sturgians understands that if you see one Sturgian, it is better to run away into a safe zone than to fight them. Frostlands has no safe zones. Yes, Frostlands has legions of players logged out. But once a Sturgian figures out the timings of how long the reinforcements take, you're never going to catch him. And that's just infuriating. So yes, an alliance with Sturgia would heavily benefit the Ramonists. But Ramon isn't going to do that. He needs leverage. He needs to make sure that Sturgia will do what he says.
Yeah,
And he just can't find
it's a
anybody.
very different approach to diplomacy. Like they all like have a say, let's say, but like you have the other alliances where you have a king, and you have like let's say Ramon, which they're like they're in charge, and that wouldn't like stick well together. Essentially, that's what you're saying.
Well, yes. You have to keep in mind that the Sturgians were also allied to Vlandia as well. And that's what the Vlandians hated about Sturgians. Because
Sturgeons were
Sturgians were
allied
always.
with when was that?
I was still a Vlandian when I was sent to recruit Sturgians.
And what Sturgeon clans were there at that point, like back in the day?
Just House Halbjorn.
So there was only one Sturgeon
Just
clan,
one Sturgian clan with 2 active people in it.
and those two active people recruited you into Sturgia. Even though
Yeah.
Vlandia was, let's say, well established at that point, like they had multiple clans with more people, there was only two Sturgeons, and you decided
Yes.
to go on their side.
Yes. Sturgia was far better than Vlandia. And still is.
Okay, okay.
Because Sturgians always, well, they'll always try and keep to their word to the best of their ability. It's actually funny to know that Sturgians emphasize a lot on honor and deals. Like Sturgians, even if they know a deal is bad and but they've already agreed to it, will probably go through with it. That's just trust. Meanwhile, if you say take a kingdom like the Ramonists, like during negotiation, they did this recently to the Sturgians, to my knowledge. They actually said, okay, we're going to negotiate after caravans, and then launched a massive attack on Sturgian trade posts. Then went to the negotiating table to go like, I needed to teach you guys a lesson. Now be my allies. Of course, Sturgia said no. You just attacked us. Sturgia will always do its own thing. People just need to accept that, and that's why the Vlandians are jealous. Like, if I wanted to start my chronicle, if I wanted to start my paper in Vlandia, they would shoot it down and say no. But in Sturgia,
Why is that?
people just,
Why is that? Like, if you start a Vlandian paper, you would write good things about Vlandia. Wouldn't that benefit them?
well, no. You see, they didn't want to make themselves a target. The biggest clan in the game didn't want to make themselves a target. But
Hmm.
Sturgians, they just went like, go for it. Do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're you're helping them, like promoting their new clans, promoting like you can do a lot of good things with your paper.
But such efforts will not be rewarded because that's not the way they want things done. And that's why so many recruits leave Vlandia. So many people probably leave the game because Vlandia, you know, everyone wants to play them. They got a good faction roster, everything, don't they? Sharpshooters, Volgears, Sergeants. I mean, the only bad unit's the Pikemen and Banner Knights, but
And they have
yeah.
they have also good horsemen.
Oh yeah, I forget the Horsemen. There's a solid roster. They're in a part of the map that's hardly forested, and they have perpetual summer down there for most. And you're thrusted into this clan where you have no other choice but to do what your bosses tell you to the letter and just accept it.
People want freedom.
Exactly. And that's what Sturgians offer. You're still part of a clan, but you can do what you want. Sturgians even have external diplomacy, so each clan can make its own deal if it wants, which has happened in the past. Legio Italica, for instance, made deals with Vlandia and the Empire even though the rest of Sturgia was at war with them. It's kind of funny to think about that, really.
But wouldn't you say that they are not true Sturgeons since they are not like in the same mindset as the rest of the Sturgeon clans?
No, they were not in the right mindset to be Sturgian. But that's just a testament to the whole idea of Sturgia. Because at that point, whilst many Sturgians were angry about them making these deals, even though the war was still active, many people just accepted it. They were Sturgian, the Sturgian clan said so, and they had their own rights to do as they want. Eventually, they would leave the Sturgian Alliance, of course, join Crazy of all things, and now look at them. Don't exist.
Yeah, what's the whole ordeal with Crazy? They were like the biggest on the server. Like, why did they disband? Like, what
They
was the reason?
disband? Oh, I didn't even notice, to be fair. Like, there's always, like, some weird drama going on in Crazy. Like, last time I really checked in on them was, like, what? Their fifth, we're gonna take Frostlands this time or something. Like, they always kept promising Frostlands, but never did anything about it. It always struck me as weird. Because Crazy, like, have you ever played, like, the Persistent World mods in a
No,
Warband?
no, I haven't.
Ah, so you don't know about the Pleb Horde.
No, what is that?
So the Pleb Horde is this sort of like faction that will occasionally happen when one like player joins it, and he's like, "Dudes, we're gonna run around naked with clubs and kill everything." I sort of feel as if that's the same energy that Crazy had, or was trying to emulate. Crazy, like if you go on their Discord, you see Crazy saying they're the great bane of Arnor, they're the great enemy of Arnor. Yet they never defeated Arnor. Like they would fight Arnor, they did 5v5s, but they never defeated Arnor.
So
Like
the Arnor
Sturgeons
was like
defeated him.
the true like enemy of
Yes,
Crazy.
and well, Crazy considered that the narrative, but the Arnorians not so much.
Why is that?
Well, to put it simply, they could just ignore the Crazies. Like Crazy would hype itself so much, would run out in front of like any enemy stronghold and go like, "Give us a fight," and the Arnorians could just go from their wall and go like in 2 hours or whenever they want, and that's just how Crazy operated.
What do you think they? Why do you think all of this happened? Like they had two big, like they had Crazy Boys like regular, and they had Crazy Boys 2, and like it just disappeared one day. Like, do you think that's some like internal diplomacy that happened there, or some?
No, it's more identity. I mean, you
Why
it,
so?
like the crazy when a crazy boy says, we're crazy boys,
Yeah.
it's meaningless.
Why?
Well, can you point to me on the map where crazy comes from?
I personally don't know.
I don't really know either. I know they're somewhere in the steppes, but I don't know where. Can you tell me what's crazy's main aims? Like,
Uh,
what's their goals?
be the best PvPers in the server.
How vague is that, though? I mean, what is it to be the best PvPer in the server? Is it to be the person who can win every 5-man, or is it the people that can win wars? Crazy restrict movement in a zone? No, they can't. They were an event clan. They just constantly hyped themselves up to think that they were the equals of some great clan like Arnor or Sturgia or heck, even Vlandia before the Arnor took them under their wing were stronger. Like crazy itself. Yes, they had good PvPers, but they that was it. They were just wanting PvP.
That comes to my next point. What do you think about the game's future?
This is a difficult question.
Let's be optimistic about it.
I think the game still has a lot of potential. Admittedly, the mass cheating is still an issue, even though people say, oh, it's not. It still is. There's still people cheating, and we know for the fact that there is a hacked launcher exists. And this hacked launcher enables people to change their files and that, which is kind of an issue, hence why we still get the crossbow glitch and so on. But at the same time, I'm still going to be playing this game anyway. I still enjoy it. I enjoy the community that we the Sturgians have built up. And more importantly, I just enjoy like Bannerlord itself. Like I come on every day. I'm currently really enjoying the pumpkin event. I got all my companions and myself now kitted out with pumpkins. One
Wasn't
glowing from my.
wasn't like the pumpkin event the biggest thing that happened this year in BO?
Yes, it is. That is kind of sad to realize that.
And like and it's not a big deal. Like it's literally two more items, and it's a reskin of the bandit leader, and just way better stats. So
Yes.
that's not really an update. It's
Well, it's an update for this game's for the mod standards.
what are people looking for? Like, what are the most like? Yeah, we need this like right now. Do you think they need more troops? Do you think they need more like?
Castles are not going to fix anything in its current state.
It's they're probably gonna make even more lag.
Yeah, people need in Bannerlord online. They need a reason. There just needs to be more to do, I feel. You know, like Conqueror's Blade, for instance. That's
Okay.
a very similar idea to this, right? People can still PvE in Conqueror's Blade. You know, you don't have to risk yourself out in the map every time. You can just constantly go into those like lobbies where you just do sieges and that free of cost. You don't have to go out on the campaign map and do stuff. You can just do that instead. But in Bannerlord, it's very much that idea of become the best lord in the land. Like
And
what is there beyond Black Claws for a PvEer?
maybe the regular bandit leader, the hideout,
Yeah,
slave
that
traders, looted caravans.
nah. There's a companion quest, but how boring do they get?
They are very repetitive. They're
Exactly.
all the same.
Like, can they journey into Frostlands other than Hawk or
In the PvE
Wildlands?
area, no, they cannot.
Exactly. And if they try to, they'll get ganked, like relentlessly.
But you
Just
think the game needs like that? The game really needs at this point, like
I honestly, if I understood what Storm was aiming for, I could give you a better answer. But I don't know what he's aiming for.
the players are in the dark. They literally don't know anything what's going on. They're not getting like updates, like future things that we can expect. I mean, castles were like they were announced like 2 years ago or something like that,
A year ago, essentially. They were
and
going to
that's
be looked at in 2 weeks.
and that's a theory. Like people don't even know what they can, so they cannot expect anything essentially for like this mod.
Well, yeah. We don't know what the future's going to hold. All we know that Storm wants to keep it as close to single player as possible.
Which is
But
not even remotely close to the single player.
exactly. Like Frostlands, Wildlands, bandit bosses, so on.
Yeah, there is
It's
way more units in the single player one. The single player one is way more sandboxy than this one. In this one, you're like, you have a couple of things to do. I've heard that it's not as bad as it like was like when it was released. But yeah, you're very limited on stuff what you can do.
As one of the first 3,000 players who played this, I remember that the only ranged weapon in the game was a rock, and you
A
had to
rock,
share the rock with your clan mates or your friends or your group or whatever.
and it does 5 damage.
It does 5 damage, and you had to share the rock.
Now at least people have bows and crossbows.
Yeah, that was actually a monumental change when they added forest bandits. Shields were still unbreakable in PvP, so that was fun. The desync was a lot worse as well.
Even though it's not possible to have a 5v5 at this point, it was worse than that.
Well, it was possible back then. Now it's not, from what I've heard, from all the crashes and that. Though
Yeah,
I haven't had any issues. Basically, what that means is if there's 5 people on one team, 5 people on another, all from their own PCs, the server will hop around between their PCs. Now, what might be happening is when a spectator joins, their internet suddenly becomes like the host, and then there's more people to bounce around. So it really depends on the specs of that person's PC and probably their Wi-Fi, as well as everyone
how do you
else in
think
the
that
battle.
can like fixed? What do you think the fix is?
I I don't know.
Is the fix
I
disabling the spectating? Is the fix getting strong, getting fights not on the client side but on the server side? I mean, like people are speculating every day, and every day they're giving in BO official Discord. They're giving like their opinions and stuff, but like nothing is happening.
well, I'm afraid nothing will happen because Storm is the one that ultimately decides not to sound like Sturm. You can try and talk to Storm all you want, but ultimately he will be the one to program it and do as he sees fit. We're sort of just along for the ride to see what he does. I myself am just along to record what the player politics are in that and try and keep people up to date with the best I can. Hence why you should read the paper every month. Next one out on the 6th.
Hoping that when I first started playing it, I was like, oh, this is such a good idea. I wonder if I can go and capture a city or a castle. And when I joined, it was literally not even close to the single player. Do you think the
Yeah.
mod will, if it gets castles, if it gets to capture a city, if it gets kingdoms, do you think the mod will be alive by that point?
Honestly, I don't know. People were saying that the mod was gonna die when like Wildlands came out and Frostlands came out. Yeah, it's still standing somehow. I mean, it's really weird how it's still standing, you know? Given the fact that we've seen so many abuses, so many cheating in that, and yet it still stands.
It's weird. People are still like playing it, like even though all of this thing happens, even though there are bots who are farming looters all day, even though there are people with automatic crossbows, people are still playing. Why do you think that is?
Well, it depends on the person. You have your reasons, I have mine.
Yeah,
Like, what's your reasons?
I personally enjoy like the taste of combat in a fight with versus players. I really like that there is a strategy behind it, that you really need to like not die, to put your troops like behind your like allies troops. What do you think about the, let's say, Fians? What do you think about Fians? Why are Fians so broken? Is it a good thing if they fix Fians? Should they balance more troops? What do you think?
I
I
think balancing troops is a dangerous game.
I personally like the troop fights. Like, I mean, that's the point. What's the point of just having two players PvP with each other if they have 135, 145? Like, if they have a lot of troops, what's the point of just killing players and not having like a strategically fight with troops?
Yeah, I understand that. If it was down to me as a developer, what I would do I would enable the troop transfer thing, so you can designate like all your troops to one player who can control the
Okay,
overall
so have a
strategy.
grand commander.
Yep. And then you just have the other players acting as champions, hunting down the opposing team's champions or killing troops.
So that would be like in the medieval times in real life. Like you have your guy who is saying all of this stuff, and you have like the people under him who are doing the work.
Yep. And it's optional. That's the real key thing here. Because you have the option to transfer troops. And he has the option to give you troops, you know?
Yeah, is
I
there
feel
like I think there is like in single player when you are occupying a castle or a town, I think you can like um let's say you invited your vassals there, and you can give one guy archers, you can give one guy crossbowmen, you can give one guy infantry. You mean like that? In that?
I'm talking more like mid-bat. Well, you know the deployment screen in single player before you start any fight.
Yeah.
I'm talking more like that, and then enabling the option in battle. I
Mm.
mean, the main reason, another reason why there hasn't been an update is because Tailworlds is still saying, guys, we need more time for the newest patch. And I'm looking forward to this patch, and I'm really hoping Storm takes on some good features, like the unit targeting system. That one I look forward to.
Oh yeah, that would be a great addition to this mod.
Yeah, because think about it. No longer will those damn Druzniks standing in front of all the Volgears just absorb all your arrows. You
Yeah.
can now tell your archers shoot to the left around around the shield wall at the Volgears.
Do you think that Storm is really like he needs to wait for Tailverse to update so he can give an update? Do you think he can do it like himself? That he doesn't need to be like waiting for them to make a major update so he can do one too?
Well, at first I got his logic. You know, like it made sense. Tailworld was just saying, "Oh, it'll come out in a month," and Storm was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna do any major big things yet." And then a month turns into 2, 3, 4,
And on and on
and
and on, and a never-ending loop.
he didn't really do anything during that time. You know, like what did he do? Like, did he fix stuff? Did he like we don't know. He doesn't keep us informed. Like I try my best with the paper to keep people informed, but I'm equally as clueless half the time when it comes to Storm.
Yo, so if Storm like had just given like players a little bit on info on what he was doing, you think the players would have like more they would be more optimistic, do you think,
I think there
about the
would be
game
a lot
future?
more engagement.
Hmm.
Optimistic and sheer anger are things that I understand from the paper.
Hmm.
So I understand where he's coming from of yeah, I may want to keep quiet and just let me do my work. But he also has a community manager called Moonlight who can help out. But Moonlight doesn't really has to ask Storm to do stuff, you know? We don't know. Ramon is maybe getting banned, but it's ultimately down to Storm approving of that ban, even though all the evidence indicates that he is the same person.
And yeah, I'll try to get someone like who is hated by the community. I want to hear their opinion too. Why are they hated? Do you have anyone in mind who can I get invited to the next podcast?
I thank you for having me on today. I'm just going to recommend Jory. I don't know why you started off with number 2. I don't even consider myself to be number 2. I'm probably in the top 100 of most hated people. There's bound to be more, just people that we don't know about. But you know, I have the most publicity. But no, Jory. Ask the Jorty.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Guys, stay tuned for the next podcast. See ya.